Good evening, friends. Welcome to today's study circle session. Friends, all of us are aware about gold chains. All of us are. Everybody is aware about gold chains, right? Yeah, in Bengaluru, everybody will be having at least minimum few gold chains, right? So, gold chain we are very much aware. And blocks, everywhere you go in any direction, there will be some blockage. So, we are aware about the block also. But what we don't know is the blockchain. Gold chain, blockchain we don't know. Maybe this is an area of interest for us. We need to find out what is this blockchain all about. Is it really going to block in our way? Or is it going to open up the blockages in our way if we study that well? So to touch upon this subject, friends, we have got an eminent personality and a very good speaker. He is none other than Narendra. I request Geeta, the chairperson of Bengaluru branch, to escort the speaker Narendra to the dais, please. Also, I request Geeta to present the welcome flower and the pot. Friends, every time study circle session means some CA will be coming and presenting the sessions, or a company secretary coming and presenting the sessions, or a lawyer coming and presenting the sessions, or a government officer coming and presenting the sessions. Right? Today there is a change. An engineer coming and presenting the session today. Because we need to be equipped, this is the IT era, right? Whenever we say IT era, it is income tax era for us because this is the scrutiny time. But in general public, when you say IT era, it is information technology era. So in the information technology era, CAs need to be up to date with the technology. Therefore, this blockchain management, learning from a software engineer is a very unique program for us. Narendra is a very innovative, hands-on software engineer. He is a leader in the engineering field, having more than 12 years of experience in managing and delivering high-quality, scalable products and solutions, as well as more than 13 years of technical experience in the career spanning over 26 years of information technology industry experience. Narendra's experience on management side includes program, project, people and product management also. His technical expertise includes building and managing databases apart from developing software applications. As a blockchain consultant, he cannot only explain how technology can be used and spread awareness, he can also get hands-on to architect, design a solution for the customer needs. Friends, such a wonderful personality is with us. Please join me to welcome him once again. Over to you, sir.
Are you able to hear me at the back? So thank you, Mr. Bhatt, for a wonderful introduction. Hello and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining today. Today we'll be going over an overview of blockchain management. Before we start, okay, I'll give folks to sit down for a minute. Before we start, I request everyone to keep their questions towards the end of the session. As some questions you may have on the initial slides might actually be answered on there. What I would recommend is to kindly note down the slide number along with your questions, so you can go back to the slide if you need. There will be ample time for question and answers after my presentation. I will probably not bore you for like an hour and a half. Then we will keep that for questions. This is supposed to be a very interactive session. So I'll keep the presentation part short and theoretical only. I'll be also sharing my contact details. Hence, if you have any implementation specific question, like how exactly Bitcoin looks like in the computer, etc., or something like that. Or if you have deep technical questions, we'll take it offline in the interest of saving time for others. Anyone wants to share their understanding of what is blockchain? I know Mr. Bhatt described it very interestingly just now, but anybody wants to take a stab at it? Does it give you a picture of a prisoner with chains and blocks attached to it? Anyway, we'll get started. In 1992, three folks named Bayer, Haber and Stornetta created the earliest version of blockchain. Now, you might be wondering what is blockchain, so I'll bring in a famous name into it. Bitcoin, you guys might have heard. The underlying technology for Bitcoin is blockchain. And a person named, or a group of people named Satoshi Nakamoto implemented this blockchain into Bitcoin. Today, this technology is there where internet was 40 years ago. Now, 40 years ago, internet was like few computers talking to each other. Nobody would have imagined that using internet, we would be seeing each other live and talking to each other over a video call. But that's the state today, and it's still evolving. It can go further. Similarly, blockchain is today and it can go further as well. It is going to change the way we trust each other and the way we deal with businesses. And hence, some consider this as a revolutionary technology. So the agenda for today is, we'll see what is blockchain, why, when, how and where to use blockchain. I'll also briefly touch upon where you don't want to use blockchain, or you need not use blockchain. We'll discuss how blockchain works, what is blockchain mining, as well as some key aspects of blockchain called encryption and hash functions. Now this is where it gets a little bit more technical into information technology area, but I have consciously made an attempt not to get too technical. So if it's getting too boring or too technical, just feel free to raise hand and I'll try and skip that part. We'll go over some current targeted use cases of blockchain, as well as we'll briefly discuss what are different types of blockchain. Many of you might be familiar with what is called SWOT analysis. So today we'll do SWOT analysis of blockchain as well, briefly, not in the detailed manner, but briefly. Blockchain does address quite a few pain points, so we'll see what those are today as well. And also see how to implement blockchain. There are some basic fundamental steps if you follow, then it is easier to implement blockchain. In the end, we'll look at a couple of case studies. These are case studies that I'm currently working with a couple of companies. So in the interest of confidentiality, I will not reveal the names of the companies or much detail, but I will explain how and what we are doing. We invented ledgers to store information related to transactions. I don't need to explain to you guys what a ledger is, right? You are all very familiar with it. A ledger is stored electronically or maintained electronically, usually in a centralized place or a centralized database or a centralized repository with centralized control. What do I mean by that? If you have an account payable or accounts receivable software, there's a database underneath it. You can consider that as a ledger. I'm not talking about specific accounting term ledger, it's just a slightly generic term ledger. So it is still controlled, you can update it only through the software. So that's what I mean by centralized control. The rules that the software has, we all have to follow to update it. So a ledger stored electronically essentially is a database or a repository. What this means is it can be tampered with, that is, data can be added, changed or deleted, right? Sometimes even without proper authorization. This is how many of today's scams start, especially those involving monetary transactions. The problem lies in the centralized control and the fact that data in these repositories pertaining to transactions have been updated without proper authorization or without proper validation. Now blockchain can solve this problem, and we'll see how that over the next few slides. So please bear with me. Essentially, blockchain is a decentralized and distributed repository or databases. So if you see at the picture, there's a centralized part and then there is a decentralized part. You can straight away make out the difference here. But if you still need to discuss it further, you can discuss it, not an issue. Now, centralized repositories do require a trusted third party. What do I mean by that? Is if a person is transferring money from A, or person A is giving money to person B, he or she will need a bank or financial institution to do that. But a bank or financial institution is the trusted repository. And that's a trusted third party. Now, the problem with trusted third parties can be they can exert influence and sometimes even a negative one. Blockchain actually does not need a single trusted third party. There are multiple such parties, and I will come to that in later slides as well. One can consider blockchain as a triple entry system. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the double entry system, and I'm not going to teach you any of them. A triple entry system is really a debit, credit, and a receipt. The receipt is nothing but a validator of the transaction. I'll explain what those validators are down the line as well. Blockchain is also distributed. More often than not, validators are remotely located. So I'm starting a transaction in Bangalore, the validator might be in Mumbai where I'm sending money to Delhi. So this might be a very common case within a blockchain. This means data needs to be sent over the internet, and what it also means is it should be safe to send it, as it can be hacked into. This is the reason encryption is used. And typically encryption is based on cryptography, especially in blockchain. And to make validation of these data easy, something called hash functions are used, and I'll explain what those are in one of the later slides as well. Now every record in the blockchain, every block has a key. Block in a blockchain is nothing but a chain of blocks, a chain of data, or a chunk of data. So each such block is written by a trusted third party. And each record is dependent on one of the previous records. So that's how it makes it a chain. That's why the term blockchain. In a blockchain, there are multiple validators, like I said, and a consensus decides if a block of data is valid or not. Now, what do I mean by consensus? More than 50% of validators need to agree on a block to be valid. So if I am sending money to somebody in Delhi, and there are 6 other people other than me and the receiver in the blockchain who are validators, at least 4 of them have to agree that yes, this transaction is valid. Only then I can send them. And I'll give you some examples down the line where this can actually help. This kind of a system can help. As the same data goes to all validators, this data propagation actually maintains integrity and what I call universality, meaning everybody has the same data. So even if one person's copy gets corrupted, it's easier to replace that. It is also not very easy to hack into multiple networks at around the same time, right? Because if my request has gone to the blockchain and it's gone over networks, there are multiple networks involved. If somebody wants to hack into and change my data, it won't be easy because there are multiple databases involved, different software. So this mitigates risk of data loss. And as the data is available, same data is available in many places. that's what is the beauty of, or one of the beautiful things of blockchain. Now, every client in a blockchain has to establish ownership of the transaction. So if I am starting a transaction, then I first have to establish ownership. How do I do it? Again, I'll explain in one of the slides. Now, blockchain uses hash functions, which we will be discussing again later. So essentially, if you want to change data in a blockchain, you have to change the hash value. Again, bear with me, I'll explain all that. I'm just giving you an overview of what we'll be explaining down the line. So the good thing is any tampering of data is recognized immediately and is replaced by a new block that has a consensus that it is valid. So you might have seen that because there are multiple validators and all that, intermediaries like banks or brokers become or are likely to become obsolete. As they are not the only validators. They may be one of the validators, but they are not the only validators. Also expected, there have been articles in newspaper, internet that this industry is expected to grow to USD 15 trillion in next, 10 trillion in next 15 years. So probably everything will be blockchain in next 15 years is what the prediction is. We'll see. Now, one of the main advantages of blockchain is transparency. Now, transparency again I'll explain a little bit down the line, but this is what actually helps in fraud prevention. What do I mean by transparency? Since the same data goes everywhere on the network, same set of data, everyone can see it. That means I can't hide it from person X or person Y. Right? That means it also prevents fraud prevention. It actually prevents frauds. As a result, one of the examples is Andhra Pradesh government is actually trying to use blockchain technology for land records. We know where this is fraud prevention is one of the biggest problems in land records. So Andhra Pradesh government is trying to use blockchain. Now, blockchain can also be very efficient. And efficiency reduces data errors. Right? Data errors have risk associated with it. So the less number of data errors we have, the better. Right? So that's what one of the main advantages also. Now some people might have heard about Bitcoin and saying that everybody can see it and everybody can write it. But blockchain can also actually hide information where needed, even if it is transparent. One can view only properties of the data without looking at the sensitivity of the data or the data. So this can actually help in, let's say, if two banks who want to update the same data which is holding transactions between each other, they don't necessarily want to share details about their customers, otherwise the other bank might steal. So if that fear is there, one can use this kind of features of blockchain where you hide the sensitive information and you show what is absolutely required. The main advantage I would say of blockchain is once it is confirmed by consensus, it is non-refutable. You cannot say, it's not possible actually, technically or otherwise, to say this is not right. Unless, and there is one small case where, I'll come to that, where you have actually beaten the 50% consensus, but it's very, very unlikely because there are a lot of inbuilt rules into the network of databases itself. So it's almost next to impossible to do it. Because it is non-refutable, it actually reduces number of disputes, and if a dispute arises, it actually helps in faster resolution. So this is also one of the advantages of blockchain, and as a result, some big names, even in India, have started using blockchain, like SBI, for smart contracts. I will also share some international companies, big names, that are also using blockchain, and I'll come to that later. Are you guys able to see the small font? I know this font is a little bit small. So in the interest of people in the back, I'll just read it out. So the first box here asks, are you securing or formalizing digital relationship. So when you want to use blockchain, you want to ask some simple questions. And I gained this experience recently when I was doing a POC of, deciding why do I want a blockchain? Why can't I simply have a centralized database or a distributed database? Why blockchain? Now if you ask some simple questions, which I call simple rule of thumb questions, then you can arrive at the answer. And one of the first questions is this: are you planning to formalize and digitize a relationship and further make it secure? If the answer is yes, then there are some more questions and we'll come to the end. The second question is the data dynamic with an auditable history? That is, do you need history of data updates? Some banks have a lot of auditing requirements, and a blockchain can help because each blockchain database can maintain its own history and audits in terms of audits. So that will actually also help. Now, if this is the case, then you want to ask if a centralized authority is needed. This is the crux of blockchain. If a centralized authority is not needed, then you want to ask if the speed of transactions is most important. Some places like stock exchanges need real-time updates and real-time data to show. So maybe blockchain is not such a good idea there. But in most other places where such real-time updates are not needed, blockchain can actually help. So that's one the second question. That's why there is some text I put on the slide where you can see what I'm talking about. We'll now see how blockchain works. Alice wants to send money to Ben. Right? Now this creates a transaction. So Alice initiates a transaction which essentially is a block of data online. Now this block of data is then sent to all the nodes or all the databases. And there are validators who are also known as miners, and we'll come to that later. They will be looking at the data to see if it is valid or not. If they find it valid, they will approve it. Now, if more than 50% approve it, then it becomes a valid block of data, and then it gets added to the blockchain. And Ben ends up receiving the money. Now, I will explain this. Why is this useful? That I was talking earlier about. Imagine a case where a bank wants to give loan to a person. Now, in the current scenario, there is the bank and there is a person asking for loan. Only two people. But if it was implemented on blockchain, there will be a lot of other people who will be validating to see if the person is eligible for loan or not. Now, if the person is not eligible for loan, the bank cannot give loan to the person, even if bank wants to give loan to the person, because 50% of the people would have said no. Now, what would this have on, what kind of impact this have on NPAs? You can see that this would reduce NPAs, right? So this is how blockchain can actually help in real life scenarios. And there are a lot of such scenarios, I will come to that. Some of them, not all of them, down the line. But this is a simple scenario where, a very basic scenario, where a blockchain can actually make a difference and reduce NPAs. And today we know that our public sector banks are struggling with the NPA problem. So now that you have understood, when should I use blockchain, now or later? Again, there are some simple questions you can ask. Again, this is something I had learned during my recent work on blockchain. Now, blockchain updates, like I said, are not real time. So if real time updates are not needed, then blockchain can help. Now, there are other places that blockchain can help also. You can ask if there is a need to streamline processes as it is increasing transaction time. Many of you would have gone to SBI or ICICI Bank and wonder what the hell am I doing here, because you are waiting for half an hour to finish, for the transaction to finish. Now, had to streamline the processes using blockchain, maybe then half an hour might have reduced to 30 seconds. So standardize and simplify processes by removing centralized authority or even centralized depository. So one of the examples is if you are going to streamline current clearing and settlement process, which is very fundamental to a lot of financial institutions. That can be done using blockchain. The next question, are there multiple writers, especially from different companies who do not trust each other? Now imagine a scenario where money is being transferred from ICICI to HDFC or vice versa. Now here are two different banks who are obviously competitors and people working in those banks don't necessarily want to trust each other. Right? So this is a case where blockchain can help as well. Now, institutions like RBI or SEBI have come up with huge number of regulatory compliance requirements. To give an example, there are like 155 compliance requirements only for the peer-to-peer lending scenario, where even the big banks and big names are not involved. Just for them, there are 155 different guidelines. So if you want to automate those things, again, blockchain can help. And especially if you want the relationship between two customers to be digitized as well as secure, then the obvious answer is yes, blockchain. So that's when you decide, okay, this is all true, okay, let's look at blockchain. So one of the things I have done is trying to understand the nature of the audience, being mostly chartered accountants or from CA background. I've tried to keep all the technical jargon out of this presentation as much as possible. So if you still find some technical jargon, because I have been an engineer, yes please go ahead.
So many banking transactions are under common banking solutions platform. So this real-time transfer either to RTGS or NEFT.
Yeah, one second. Can somebody give me a mic so everybody can hear?
Currently, national clearance will not happen unless the participating banks are on common banking solutions. So there is a need for another technology.
Yeah. So
just to add to this question.
Sure.
Just to add to this question. Now we have this GSTN network. GSTN network where all the parties have to agree on a particular transaction. So only then it goes through. So is it on a blockchain?
Okay, first I'll answer this question, then I will come to you. Now the key of blockchain is having independent validators. In your case, if there are independent validators, they might actually be using the same fundamentals of blockchain without actually using blockchain technology, which is okay. But if there are no independent validators, then it's better for them to use blockchain to resolve any potential disputes. And to answer your question, I'm sorry, can you please repeat?
We have this GST
Yeah.
network wherein if I'm purchasing a goods, what I have, see basically blockchain to my limited understanding. So as a chartered accountant, there is my version of truth, there is your version of truth.
Right.
So my version of truth is I have sent you so many goods and you have to accept that you have sent.
Right.
But at the end of the year, you see there is a reconciliation.
Correct.
So that is and blockchain gives one version of truth.
Correct. Yes.
So that one version of truth, currently we've been able to achieve it through this GST network when transaction happens. So just wanted to know what's the difference between that and this.
Again, if there are independent validators within the GST network who say yes, this is the only version of truth and you have to again have to agree, then they may actually be using blockchain fundamentals without using the blockchain technology. But if there are none, then they should probably use blockchain technology, bringing independent validators. What do I mean by that is somebody whose interests are not same as yours and mine, somebody who doesn't care whether you are right or I am right or whether I am wrong or you are wrong. Such independent validators, if they are there within the network, then yeah, that's where the blockchain should. So we'll now see how to use blockchain. Now a typical blockchain has three main technologies. A service for transactions. You need to have transactions being entered and data being transferred, etc. You need a distributed network that can take the data to different databases or nodes, and you need a private key to identify whether this validator is really a validator or whether this person, client who is starting a transaction is also a real client or not. So three different parts of blockchain technology. In blockchain, each database, like I said, is also considered as a node. Now each node needs to know exactly what to expect. What do I mean by that? Somebody orders apples from me and I am sending oranges. They'll be baffled. Why am I getting oranges? Similarly, each database needs to know what the other database is going to send to them. So that is what I mean by protocol. The protocol is established that okay, this data in this format only you will be receiving. We will see that example of that shortly. So once that protocol is established, that's when a block of data containing a digital signature, a timestamp, and other relevant information like the hash value, etc. is set. So that's what makes up a blockchain, and this is how we would want to use a blockchain. So here it shows a little bit how. Now you can see that first of all, whether it be a validator or a client, the identity needs to be established. Now there is something called a public key and a private key that is used. So when I am talking about encryption, I will explain that a little bit. What is a public key and private key? So that is used to identify the client. Okay, this is the client from which the transaction started, and that client becomes the owner of the transaction. Then there is a network, typically peer-to-peer network of computers and nodes. Or different devices also. You could do it from your mobile also. It need not be a laptop or a desktop. Or it can be any other mobile device. So typical network is required. And lastly, it is the program, which is also the protocol. A program or a protocol is required so that each node understands what to expect. Each node knows what it gets, knows how to interpret. Actually, the exact same data is stored everywhere in the same format. Otherwise, there will be more confusion than what is needed. So this is essentially like what are basic elements of a blockchain. And the picture at the bottom kind of represents, it's a pictorial representation of a block. The actual block looks very garbage if you look at it in a database, and simply because of the hash key. I'll explain what the hash key is very shortly, but it is nothing but to a plain naked eye, it's garbage. But to the computers, it's meaningful data. Now you might be wondering, okay, we know how to write to use, etc. Now where to use blockchain? Like there was a question of GST and networking. Now, is that a good place to use a blockchain? Probably. Again, there are some simple questions that you can ask, that if the answers are yes or no, which is the appropriate answer, then you can decide to use blockchain. Typically, when there are two or more writers of data to a database, and they are typically from different companies or different organizations who actually don't trust each other, then in this case, it's a good idea to use a blockchain. The earlier example I used of ICICI and HDFC is an example where you would want to use a blockchain, especially if they have to send data to each other rather than sending data electronically, store it in a common place. Now, since they don't trust each other, there are independent validators who are saying yes, this data is valid. In case where there are writers from a single organization, essentially what it means is you have a centralized control. Even if the database is distributed, there is a centralized control of a single company. In such cases, maybe blockchain may not be such a good idea. However, even in such cases, if it is reducing the cost of maintaining data, then blockchain can help. Because the way blockchain maintains data is very cost effective compared to most systems today, even the big terabyte systems that big companies claim are inexpensive, etc. Their expenses are much higher than, especially on the longer term, than the blockchain database. For a simple reason, it is decentralized, so is cost. Cost is also decentralized. cases where confidentiality of data is not such a big issue, meaning only me. Yeah, there's a question in the back. Can somebody give my?
I think I can speak loud enough.
Are you speaking?
Yeah, so I can speak loud enough.
Okay.
My only question is, what kind of data are we talking about which will be sent across to blockchain? For example, when you say some banks do not trust each other, maybe I'm really repeating the question that he's asking about real-time data which banks send each other through RTGS, NEFT, etc. But can you give us an example of what type of data would banks need to, give each other, which we can send to blockchain?
Sure.
That is one. And so one more question. In the example that you are given, suppose you want a loan from multiple banks, and you have a number of players in between who tell you that whether you have a good chance of getting a loan or not. Who are these players? Are we talking about credit scoring agencies, or what type of agencies are we talking about? Just to understand examples of how it is used and who are the users.
Okay. So to answer your first question, let's say I'll again use the ICICI HDFC example. HDFC says account number 1234 wants to send data of, let's say, 5,000 rupees to you in ICICI with account number 5678. Now 1234 and 5678. 1234 doesn't mean anything to ICICI and 5678 doesn't mean anything to HDFC. So we are hiding customer information, name, address, phone number, contact details, etc. But sending what is only relevant. So because there are inbuilt rules within the blockchain network that can say, okay, ICICI Bank's 5678 is a valid account number and HDFC Bank's 1234 is a valid account number, the transaction is valid. But the two banks don't get to each other. Now coming to the second part, what you are asking is, who are the miners? Now credit rating agencies typically don't get into blockchain mining, and I'll explain. There is a slide on blockchain mining. I'll explain what do I mean by mining. But they can get into and say, yes, this person is eligible for loan or this person is not eligible for loan. However, typically they don't. It's only independent.
Who are these persons? I mean, agency or is it a bank?
It can be actually anybody, independent companies also. The validators or miners can be independent companies. Because the rules, the whole thing hinges on rules. Because the rules within the network are fixed, the miners verify the data based on those rules only. So when you are actually architecting a blockchain network, you kind of have to decide what the rules are. And
if there can some unwanted party can get into that and spoil the data.
No. That's what I said is very difficult, because there is something called encryption which uses public and private key, and you have to be given that key for you to be able to even get into the blockchain network. And that's how you identify the person as valid or not.
So who are the validators now for Bitcoin or something?
Yeah, Bitcoin, one of you could be a Bitcoin validator, or me. I'm not doing that, but I could be one. Anybody with a computer.
In the case of a bank loan also.
I'm sorry?
The same can
same thing can
be in the case of a bank loan.
Yeah.
Who can cancel the loan?
No, I'll explain that. Now mining is a computational review process, and there is a slide on blockchain mining. So just because I decided I'm going to cancel the loan, I can't do that. Because it's a computerized review process. There is no manual intervention as such. So based on the rules, it is validating, yes, this person is eligible for loan, or no, this person is not eligible for loan. So anybody and everybody cannot stop or cancel the loan.
So you said that the data is encrypted, private key and public, and nobody can actually see the data. Then how
you can see it, but you will see it as garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, but then how can anybody validate it if they are not able to see it?
It's validated by the nodes of the computers that are in the network.
Is it different from who the validators are?
Whenever typically I am talking about validators, those are not necessarily the people, those are actually the computers that act as independent validators. So So you may own a computer, you become part of a blockchain network, and once you want to be a validator, there are a set of steps you have to follow, software you have to install. Once that happens, then the validation process is automated. Now, whatever encryption has been done, and I'll come to that when I come to encryption. There are different ways you can encrypt the data. Some are good, some are not so good. If you use a not so good way of encrypting the data, it can be hacked into, you can reverse engineer and see what the data is also. But I'll come to that in how the data speaks.
Sir, can I ask one more?
Sure.
So, again, coming to this fund transfer.
Coming to what?
This fund transfer.
Fund transfer, yeah, go ahead.
Sir, the two banks, unless they are on common banking solutions, they can't be participating in microfinance.
Right.
Okay. So, suppose the transferor bank does not, suppose I want to transfer from ICICI to HDFC, say 1 lakh rupees. Unless I have more than 1 lakh rupees in my bank balance, at the initiation level itself, the transaction will be validated and either approved or rejected,
Yes.
without having to wait for a third guy to come and do the sitting process.
Yes.
It is not that I have only 70,000 balance, but I can do an NEFT or RTGS for 1 lakh,
Yes, correct.
and then wait for it. There cannot be a temporary loan facility unless the bank has approved that.
True.
Okay, so that is one. And as you said, the banks need not share anything. Only thing is, this transferor bank has to transfer 1 lakh rupee, and the transferee account has to receive that 1 lakh rupee based on what data I have captured.
Yes.
Transfer, the payee's account should have been registered in my net banking, and that's it. So there is a complete check at the beginning itself.
Yes.
Who are all the two parties with whom I am going to transact?
Yes.
So why should this transaction be shared with the third guy? And that it is actually a loss of security for me. I don't want my data to be shared or reviewed by a blockchain guy.
Right.
Between bank A and bank B, the funds are gone and nobody knows except myself and my intended payee.
So to answer your second question, if one of the banks, now I know ICICI and HDFC are talking about the big ones won't go bankrupt so much. But there are smaller ones who could go bankrupt and say we didn't receive the money. Say in our example, tomorrow ICICI goes bankrupt. I know it will not happen at all. So, but let's say it goes bankrupt and say we don't receive money. HDFC is saying I did send money. Now whose version of truth is correct? That's the reason a third party validator, independent validator will help. And there are cases like this that have happened a lot worldwide. That is, smaller banks or smaller financial institutions have used this kind of.
Even in the current scenario, these things are happening. For example, today, the fund transfer would have been effected successfully and you would have also received an SMS. Tomorrow, the transaction might get reversed also. Therefore, the payee bank will not get the credit, and our bank will recredit the amount which was originally debited yesterday. So, this mediator job is being done by RBI at the moment.
Right.
So I don't think RBI is going to delegate this job to some technology. I'm not sure about that.
So that's the thing. The thing is that now RBI, whether it is delegating automatically or some person sitting there is reviewing it is one question. Secondly, and more importantly, where two smaller banks are involved, will RBI pay, or smaller amounts, will RBI pay attention there or not? So such cases will be there. So in the case that the money actually comes back, you are lucky. That okay, the money came back, the transaction failed. But if the money doesn't come back, the second bank says we didn't even receive it, then the problem is. That's why the independent validator will say, okay, there is only one version of truth, this is the truth, both sender and receiver agree. That's where it will actually make a difference.
So will it be right to say that based upon the volumes or based upon the importance, one would decide whether really the blockchain technology should be implemented?
No, that is how it is currently, I think. At least that's my understanding. Based on volume, see, blockchain, whether you are sending 1 rupee, 1 paisa or 1 billion, it will still be a transaction. Of course, blockchain will decide the minimum amount of transaction, but you can send the minimum amount or you can send any amount. You will still go to the blockchain network, you will still use the same set of rules to validate. So it is not necessarily what is the amount, whether it's small, big, or do something else.
No,
Maybe I can understand your question.
Yeah, no, what I'm trying to say is that any company or any institution or any government for that matter, whether to implement this technology, I mean, of course, it would involve cost and it would involve efforts. So whether to implement or not itself, I think, will depend upon the volumes, the importance of that particular transaction for that particular institution or government.
Yes, correct. So RBI currently is testing blockchain technology itself, and it's evaluating where it would be appropriate to use, in what scenarios it will use blockchain and what other scenarios it will not use blockchain. So they are evaluating right now. US Federal Reserve, which is the RBI equivalent in the United States, is already using blockchain. So to give an example, I mean, even the smallest transaction will be validated because it just eliminates the need. And there are other benefits of using blockchain, like reduced fees, etc., which I'll come to later. But that actually helps in reducing the cost. So there are multiple reasons why one would use blockchain. I think some of those we might have already seen. Now there are certain types of blockchain. There is something called permissible or private blockchain. Can be used if confidentiality is given. That's what I was talking earlier. Right? There are cases where confidentiality is required, but blockchain can still be used. So permissible, and we'll discuss what permissible blockchain is in one of the later slides, but that's where it can be used. And one more point here is that blockchain pretty much maintains its own audit history. So wherever there is auditing requirements, and you guys know more about auditing than anybody in IT, blockchain will definitely help. You must be wondering what is blockchain mining and whether it is something the same as data mining. It's not same as data mining, and the difference is simple. You mine data to try and get insights. You mine blockchain or blocks to validate the blocks, whether it's valid or not. That's a fundamental difference between data mining and blockchain mining. So for blockchain to work, or for any block to become validated, consensus has to be established. That's 50% of validators or miners need to agree that yes, this is a valid block of data. So miners or validators are nothing but groups or individuals who can help establish the validity of the block. Now, from a pure network perspective, those are actually computers and nodes. But the definition of miners, but who manages computers and nodes? Somebody owns it, somebody makes sure it's on. Those are individuals. So ultimately, those individuals or groups, like companies like Ripple, they would be responsible to make sure that any block they are validated is actually, validation is done by an authorized person.
Excuse me. In case of banking transaction, in a way, if you use the term, if you use the technology of blockchain, the repository or the miners is the central government agency, that is RBI. Is that right? Is the assumption? Is the basic idea right?
RBI can be the entity or institution who sets guidelines for miners or validators. But a miner or validator can be anybody, it can be you or me. Anybody who owns computers with sufficient computing power. That's why when I describe the network, it's a peer-to-peer computers. Anybody with enough computing power can become a validator and validate the set of rules that RBI sets for every transaction. So RBI need not be the only validator, that's our point.
So RBI is one of the validators.
Today it is one of the validators because I think it really has no choice. But if you use a better technology, it, automated rules enforcement, then it may not be the validator. It can simply be an institution that sets guidelines for blockchain technologies. It sets guidelines for RBI sets guidelines for anything financial, not today. latest being they released guidelines for peer-to-peer networks in outer chain. Right?
So miners are basically agencies which have to be registered. Do they have to be registered with any particular government agency for
No.
them to be? So it can be any company. For example, actually, maybe you can give us an example of.
Ripple is a company that manages its own blockchain and is validator also. Now they are registered on that blockchain as a validator.
What do they validate? For example, just to give us, just for us to understand, what do they validate?
They validate the block. Essentially, data that I am sending.
Very simple. Suppose I have a PAN card and I want to say, suppose I have to send this PAN card and submit it to the bank. Okay, the bank might not know that I might have made a fake PAN card, or it might be a genuine PAN card. So there will be somebody who will validate whether this PAN card belongs to this particular person or not.
Yes.
So for that I can go to say a blockchain miner like Ripple example. Is that right? Is that
that's in short, yes. So give you a very brief answer, yes. That's the kind of thing a validator would do. Now,
What is the benefit that the validator gets?
validator gets rewards for validating. Nobody will do it for free. That is, I haven't come across any validators who will. To answer your question in a little bit more detail, typically what validators will do is they will actually not see the data because the data is stored in the form of hash value. What is a hash value? Actually, I was going to come later, but since you brought in the question, I'll explain now. Hash value is nothing but when you look at it, it's just garbage. Now, my name is Narendra. Now, I spell that with a capital N and put it through a hash function. It will generate a value. Nowhere you will see name, word name, mine, or even Narendra anywhere. If I say my name is Narendra with small n, it will generate a different hash value, but of the same size as the previous hash value. So all hash values are exactly of the same size. So it's very difficult to pass or reverse those values, and that's what blockchain miners will validate. They will try to generate the same hash value that's coming and make sure it is correct.
How is it different from a digital signature?
A digital signature is a one-time activity, whereas as the data is dynamic, for each piece of data, the hash value might be different. You understand? I don't know if I answered your question.
So the logic is the same.
Logic is the same, yeah. Essentially, you are using an encrypted way to validate it. Now, when I say encrypted, it's not the same digital encryption. This is generic English word encryption I am using. The encrypted way I get the data, I make sure I follow the same steps to arrive at the same encrypted value. I don't know what the original plain text was, and we'll see when we get to hash functions very shortly.
So the validator will not know what is the data, is it?
Hello.
So you will not be aware what is that the other party is asking for the information, and you just say yes, this is validated.
Yeah.
So you will not be aware what is the data, and the person who is receiving it will get to know, okay, this data is correct.
So I'll go back to a slide where we are talking how blockchain works. I think. See, here when a block is generated, that block has hash value. So when it's sent over, and they are only validating whether the block is valid or not. They don't know what's inside the block. They don't know how much money Alice is sending to Ben. Only when Ben receives it, Ben knows, okay, this much money I received from Alice. Now at this end, there's also a way to understand what is in there by coming with this same steps in a reverse order kind of thing, and update his bank account or his account in that blockchain network. So that's how Ben knows, okay, I received say $200 from Alice. Alice knows she's sending $200. But the number 200 or even for that matter dollars symbol probably won't be seen by anybody within this.
One more question. What happens when a transaction is invalidated? For example, I have an LC transaction where I have transferred my goods. I am supposed to receive the money, and validator has invalidated the transaction. What happens to that? What will happen to my goods? What is given to him?
So in this case, the money will go back to Alice. It will not go to Ben.
But what will happen to my goods which is already delivered?
I'm sorry, what will happen to what?
The goods already delivered. It is a transaction.
Yeah. Okay, so in that case, I still have to reinitiate another transaction and say send in money again. Otherwise, I'll be in problem because goods delivered is one version of the truth that I have to agree to. So I have to create another transaction to send money in case it becomes invalid or for whatever reason. Let's say network disconnect or something, it broke in between, and I'll have to initiate another transaction. Doesn't happen too frequently because of the way the networks, especially the blockchain networks, are designed, but it can happen once in a while.
So, from what you say, banking transactions, e-commerce transactions,
They bring the bank.
Banking transactions, e-commerce transactions, etc. We need to go through another round of technology change. Is that right?
Not necessarily another route of technology change. Blockchain can simply be added to the existing technology. It's not necessarily, you need not replace your existing IT systems with that.
No. See, at the moment, what happens is, for example, in the e-commerce transaction, the supplier, e-commerce agent, the bank, the buyer, these are the four parties to my knowledge. Suppose you add this miner or validator, etc. They tag on to the e-commerce companies or?
No, they are just part of the chain of network. So whenever they validate a block, they will get some reward saying it is a valid block and yes, they are valid.
So this is like a ombudsman kind of a job. E-commerce company may say, I don't want this validation because it will add to the cost of the merchandise. There may be some checkboxes. Do you want a blockchain guy to get involved? I will say no. So to that extent, there is a less opportunity, or is that right?
That is because of the lack of sufficient understanding of blockchain. And when we do SWOT analysis, I'll come to that. But essentially what you are saying, a person might think that way, you are correct. And a person might think that is the case. But because of the way blockchain is implemented, the cost is actually goes down. So your cost of maintaining the data goes down, so your e-commerce supplier would not be unhappy in giving such options, because now your e-commerce supplier has next to zero risk because whatever he gets is already ready.
So, see, there is a concept called information utilities under the insolvency bankruptcy code, which actually takes care of the data, etc., between the creditors, debtors, etc. So, is this also under a regulated mechanism, or because I may not want my transaction to be mined by some third party, sir?
Correct. That is why RBI is still testing the technology. They haven't come up with any, at least to the best of my knowledge, they haven't come up with any regulation on it.
They have come out with a white paper.
Yeah, they have come up with a white paper, but not any specific regulation.
I think the issue is these validators are really not validating the transaction. As I understood, they are only validating the hash key and say yes. Am I right?
Yes, and that in turn
they are not bothered whether they are exported or imported.
No.
Only the hash key they validate at the end of it.
Yes.
So if the hash key matches, there is no question of saying that is not a valid transaction.
Correct.
So there is no question of anybody rejecting unless there is an error in the hash key. That's all.
Yes.
Okay, I think that if you explain clearly, the people will understand.
Yeah.
Because there is a reason, because everybody is thinking they are validating the actual transaction. No.
you won't see that.
Am I right or wrong?
You are kind of correct. What miners are, that's why I said, the miners don't get to see the data. They only get to see the hash table. So what you are saying is correct. They are validating the hash table. However, the way the blockchain network is set up, when you get to generate a hash key and validate it, you get transaction authentication.
And each block has a rule, right?
Yeah.
So that rule is sacrosanct.
Yeah. That cannot be.
That rule and hash key both are fundamental.
Fundamental.
Suppose I want to have a blockchain for supply chain, the block rule will be totally different. It will not be same as the financial transactions.
It may not be same as even another supply chain transaction. Yes. It could be very different. In fact, there are cases where each blockchain implementation, even if the broader use case is the same, is different. For example, Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency, they implement blockchain differently than Ethereum, which is another cryptocurrency.
So in a company, all the transactions can be subjected to blockchain management?
Yes, it can be.
So in future, what will happen is that we have like 1 lakh transaction in a company, and after 2 years, there is an assessment by the tax authority, and I go there and I present my case, and the situation is that he will ask for some transaction to be verified, and he can go through that validator and get it verified.
Kind of, yeah. And I'll come to that. There is a use case where taxation is a use case where blockchain can help. So what you are saying is essentially that use case. If it is implemented properly, everything about blockchain is understand the requirements, understand the use case, define the rules correctly, and then implement it properly. Once it's implemented properly, yeah, what you are saying will.
So in that sense, like if it is validated to a certain extent, all these issues, if from the tax authorities questioning that transaction whether it's valid or not, will get reduced.
Yeah, they won't even ask because they will. First of all, whatever information they get will come validated. So they won't come asking you. As long as your declaration and their records match, they won't even probably send you any notice or call you.
And also there are such situations where the foreign companies are incurring certain expenditure on behalf of your Indian company and then reimburse or cross-charge to Indian companies. So to the possible extent, if it is a blockchain management system, and subsequently even I can support that transactions with the tax authorities to justify this transaction, right?
Yes. So blockchain has no boundaries as such. It can be implemented internationally. So it's one of the threats when we come to do SWOT analysis. I'll explain one of the threats where it requires, currently most countries don't have any legal framework or support for blockchains. So that's what essentially you are getting. But
you just told two terms, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Can you just give more information, a bit of more information on what?
There are two slides I'm talking about Bitcoin.
Okay.
And Ethereum, that's why I was saying earlier. If you can wait for questions towards the end, many of the questions in the initial slides will be answered on the later slide. But it's okay, I'll explain what Bitcoin is. So like I said, miners essentially actually only, okay, let me go back to the slide, correct slide. So all they have to do is validate a hash value, which is a product of a cryptographic function. So they have to do that. And once they do that, the transaction becomes valid. Now, why is it blockchain? It's because every block in the chain is connected to its predecessors through an address. So it's kind of one block having one address of the predecessor, the previous one having address of the predecessors and so on. And even the way value is calculated is also because of the existing blocks that are there. All this is done automatically, so we don't necessarily have to worry about it, but just for information I will share it. So essentially there are two types of blockchains. One is public blockchain like Bitcoin and the permissible ones. Now in a public blockchain anybody can view it and write to it. Whereas in permissible blockchain, the blockchain itself controls who writes to it, even if everybody can read it. So if you have a private or a permissible blockchain, some people don't think of it as a blockchain if it is controlled by centralized authority. Because the fundamental element of blockchain technology is decentralization. However, it still is a blockchain. You are using the three different technologies that I mentioned, it becomes a blockchain. But some people say it's not a blockchain, it's just a centralized network because it's controlled by a centralized authority. Now, public blockchains typically have more stringent rules for miners, and those are almost all of them are automatically implemented. So, again, people don't have to worry. And all this automatic implementation actually takes a little bit more time. That's why blockchains are not really good for cases where stock exchanges are concerned, where you need instant real-time update. Other places like currency exchanges where you don't need instant updates, maybe blockchain can help. Now in permissible blockchains, writers are trusted. So the rules for miners is not as stringent as those in the public blockchain. Now comes the favorite topic that everyone wants to talk about. Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually just one use case of blockchain. It's nothing but a digital currency that is created and held electronically. So if somebody comes with a coin and shows you this is a Bitcoin, immediately doubt it. Because Bitcoin is not controlled by anybody, as it is not printed by anybody like a rupee or a dollar. There is no central authority, and that concerns most governments, including our finance minister as well as RBI and most other countries, because it is not under their control. But in case of Bitcoin, there will only be 21 million total Bitcoins. That's how their network is designed. But that may not be the case with other cryptocurrencies, and I'll come to that in a little later. A Bitcoin transaction actually is initiated using a wallet. No matter what the wallets are, there is a big talk about wallets also. A wallet generally initiates a Bitcoin transaction. Miners verify each Bitcoin transaction just like miners verify any other blockchain transaction. Same thing happens in Bitcoin as well. Before it is updated, and all transaction input, output address, which and amount sent, etc., is actually stored in the form of hash value, which is validated. Hence, these transactions are validated by miners.
But many people made huge capital gains and they escaped without paying taxes because the Bitcoin appreciated enormously. Then where there is no law in place, what is going on?
So you might have heard about Hawala. Hawala, right? You might have heard about Hawala transactions. Which is similar. What is Bitcoin is a currency, essentially. What do you do in Hawala? You just simply exchange currencies. So if I were Jetli, I would say this is nothing but Hawala.
Financial industry has to say that it is a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme, yes, exactly. So he has already said that, yeah. So essentially, it's just like electronic version of all. Now, you might ask some big names and they might, question you on this topic, but at the very fundamental, the way my understanding, and you guys can correct me because you guys would know about this more than me. Any central bank like RBI or US Federal Reserve or Bank of England, if they cannot control any financial transactions, they will call it either illegal or illegitimate or something. And that's what Bitcoin is today, because it is not controlled by any government authority. It becomes kind of illegal. And there is no need to pay taxes because
it's not illegal. It's not illegal. There is a directive. That's it. It is not.
I understand. No. What I mean is, if tomorrow some governments come up with legislation banning cryptocurrencies because they don't have control on it, it could become illegal. And the reason I say illegal is because you are not declaring it to income tax department and paying tax on it. So to me, that is something kind of actual legal definition. It may not be illegal, but if you are doing something, you guys know this, right? If you are having a transaction which kind of under the table transaction, it's not. If the government still, even if the government doesn't say it's not legal, you guys know it's not about to have such thing. So that's what Bitcoin actually is. It's a controversial topic, believe me, and so are all cryptocurrencies. And a lot of people are investing money into it. But at the end of the day,
investing money is a real money, right? So there is a track. Even if I buy a Bitcoin, I have to settle that transaction using the legal tender. Is there a track?
there is a track in the Bitcoin network, but that track is not revealed to the government.
No. How do I pay? I have to pay from my bank or something, right?
Or cash, yes.
Yeah, so that's no cash means it is some small amount. So there is a track when I buy a Bitcoin and there is a track when I sell a Bitcoin. So the track is in my bank account or maybe as a Hawala, pure cash. Pure cash I doubt because it is all online.
Right.
You can't do anything by cash. So the only way is to pay through my bank or something. There could be some. Yeah. So
It is a money transfer. However, you have to, if you make gains on it, you have to justify how you made it.
That's right. Even if somebody buys a Bitcoin or sells a Bitcoin, there is a track for income tax authority.
Right.
Because it has to be through a bank or some formal.
Unlike a foreign currency exchange, it has not been formalized yet.
Yes.
That's a fundamental problem behind it.
Yeah. Income tax is saying you declare the capital gain. If you don't declare, they know who has earned how much.
Correct.
Because there is no way it can be.
There is no way it can be hidden, yes.
Yeah.
But here is the thing: if people who are in Bitcoin network, who have access to the data, if they don't if they refuse to share the data with you, with the authorities, then authorities will
See, when I buy, money goes out of my bank account.
Yeah.
When I sell, money comes to my bank account. The department does not require anybody's this one. They say money has gone out 10
Yes.
lakhs, money has come as 1
Yes,
crore.
yes,
So 90 lakhs they explain.
Yes,
I have to explain.
Yes.
So they don't need even the miners or the validators to say what
Correct, correct.
So and the taxman is not worried how you earn. Even if it is illegal money, they say pay tax. There is a case law also.
You're right.
Even if I say narcotics, and if I
Yeah,
am
if
caught,
I realize it, yeah.
no, even if I am caught, I have to pay.
Yes.
So that's how it is.
That's how it is, yes. But I think the current legal gap is because there is no formal structure like foreign exchange currency.
So what they are worried is a run on the bank, there is a concept.
Yeah.
Suppose tomorrow the entire system collapse, whom to help hold responsibility.
Correct.
So that's where they are worried.
So in the early 90s, there was, during the Harshad Mehta period, there was something called bankers' receipts. Like, to maintain the statutory liquidity ratio or CRR, banks are supposed to buy government securities up to a particular percentage of their, some formula is there. Okay. So suppose you have over-invested, then you will want to sell. Suppose you are still under-invested, you may want to buy. So the parties to the transaction can be either banks or insurance companies or governmental agencies only. So before the securities could be delivered or received, they used to get something like a temporary receipt called a banker's receipt, which is nothing but an IOU document. So they started trading on the BR and it became a huge scandal. And even though there was a compliance protocol or a document which every quarter the banks are supposed to sign and submit to the Reserve Bank, most of the bank's chairmen were completely unaware of what's going on in the investment department and they simply signed. This is what has happened.
Yes.
So the BR is nothing but an electronic, Bitcoin is nothing but an electronic version of the electronic BR. See whether income tax catches it or not is something different, but the whole economy will get unnecessarily, there will be a catastrophe, sir.
Yes, there will be hit with a lot of issues.
Exactly.
Right. So Bitcoin transaction actually can have fees as well. And some question. And receipts also can be given for these transactions. Not all Bitcoin transactions have fees, so there is a variation in terms of fees as well. And the Bitcoin network is doing its best to standardize it as well. Now, smallest unit of Bitcoin is a Satoshi, of Satoshi Nakamoto. The name Satoshi Nakamoto actually is not really a real person's name. It only represents a person or group of individuals who implemented blockchain in Bitcoin, for Bitcoin rather. So Satoshi is nothing but 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, so very small unit. And you can have smallest transaction in a Bitcoin is 5430 Satoshis. So if a Bitcoin is today some 14,000, 15,000 or $17,000, multiply into 64, 65, whatever, and you divide 100 million, whatever number comes. I'm not good at math on the top of the head. That becomes a value of solution.
So what exactly is the validation which happens? I mean, like blockchain is a technology, and this Bitcoin is based on blockchain technology.
Yeah, so essentially, an input and output address as well as the amount being sent. These things are stored in a hash. When you put this through a hash function, it will come up with a hash value. And miners will validate that yes, this is a true, correct hash value being generated on Bitcoin. So essentially, if I am sending you Bitcoins, you have one address, that is like your computer's address, I have an address, it would be like my computer's address. And the amount, let's say I am giving you 2 Bitcoins. And all these 3 elements will be converted into a hash function, which will be sent to miners. Miners will validate, yes, it's correct. Then my 2 Bitcoins from my account will go to your account.
So
answer this question or
no, what I'm trying to ask is like, for example, today if I'm buying a share, okay, of a company, I'm buying a share and it is for so and so value. Today I'm buying a Bitcoin for so and so value, right? While I know what a share is nothing but a company's capital's a portion of company's capital is a share. What is Bitcoin?
So if you are to sell rupees and buy dollars, you know you are buying a dollar, you know what is a dollar.
Right.
Bitcoin is nothing but another currency like now. It's only electronic, it's not printed, so you don't need anything physical. So you go to airport, you give rupees, you get dollars, you give something on paper, right?
Right.
Printed as big dollars, or you get coins, cents, whatever. Here you just get an acknowledgement in images.
That you have purchased so and so many Bitcoins. So will I be right if I say that it might be valuable tomorrow if someone says that you would get something in exchange of Bitcoins?
Yes. So since you can buy something with dollars in US, yeah, you might be able to buy something worldwide with Bitcoins. And let's say you buy something for 1.5 Bitcoin with 0.5 Bitcoin as delivery charges, you can get a TV consumer for 2 Bitcoins. Apparently people have ordered pizza using Bitcoins, is what I heard.
You have heard of the McAfee, John McAfee, who was posting in a lot of news.
Yeah.
He was saying that he used Bitcoins for all his shoppings and other things.
So, I mean, what is actually causing the amount of fluctuations which is happening today in Bitcoin?
That's demand.
Demand, it's a simple demand supply equation. People like, actually I don't want to quote names, but big names, big actors are buying
Amitabh Bachchan. He is not buying.
Bitcoin, so the demand is going up, so the price is going up. Remember, there are only finite number of Bitcoins, 21 million.
But in the long run, RBI will be eliminated because peer-to-peer lending will start through Bitcoin.
That's why RBI is concerned, and that's why the finance ministry is saying that this
They have come out with now that Lakshmi, Indian version of that
Bitcoin. Even Bank of England has come up with its own cryptocurrency. So slowly your rupees and dollars will get replaced with these cryptocurrencies, which will be generated by the central banks. They can prove that.
There will be no fake currency in future. That's what you are saying.
There shouldn't be, but don't count on it. Our brains are very smart, so we'll figure out a way to create some more fake currency.
Maybe the currency will go to Chennai jail or
There is something called a dark side of internet. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. There is a dark side to the internet. The entire internet, although it's online, there is a dark side to it, and most of it is used by hackers and other people too. So if those guys invent something and sell and buy something on that internet, no government can control.
The best series called Mr. Robert. Mr. Robert, the series shows about it.
So you mean to say it's not hack proof, this cryptocurrency, the blockchain management system is not completely hack proof?
It's not completely hack proof. Although if you hack and try and change data on one node, it can easily be replaced from another node because the same data goes everywhere else. To be able to hack an entire blockchain, you have to hack into all the nodes. For that you have to know all the nodes. So all that thing will be. They are trying to make it as complicated as possible, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
Nothing in this world is impossible. I am talking about because believe me, it just there's a fundamental rule of project management which I'll share. Nothing in project management is impossible. It's only that you are limited by your time and resources. If you have enough time, if you have enough resources, you can do anything. You can even solve.
I have a question. Why somebody will go for Bitcoin when you say it's a limited number of coins there and the transaction value is very high? When there are other functional currencies are there, so what exact benefit which a person will have to trade in the Bitcoin?
Okay, let me ask you a question. Have you ever bought shares?
Yes.
You buy so that the value grows and you get returns.
Correct, but the company performs in that case. When the company, underlying company doesn't perform, the value of the shares will
grow. Yeah, but you are hoping
it correlates with the Bitcoin.
So because the Bitcoin demand is going up, people are expecting to make money on Bitcoin. That's what people are doing.
Buying land.
It's the same principle.
Something like buying land
for
appreciation.
But shares represent some
investments and all. What Bitcoin represent? What it consists?
So let's say you think tomorrow if you think dollars value is going up against rupees, in a foreign currency exchange, you will buy dollars, give rupees and buy dollars because you think dollar will appreciate and you will get more rupees. Same for now.
Why it is shown as a gold coin there?
It's not. This is not Bitcoin worldwide. When you see this photograph, people will understand it's Bitcoin. I think there is the same percentage and contribution. Any question on this side? Okay.
Can I just relate this blockchain technology to e-filing site with which all carbon footprints are familiar? Can you please relate this technology to e-filing site or e-booking site of Indian Railways?
So e-filing site, you are filing taxes using e-filing site. Am I right? You say I have done this transaction in last financial year. Now against your, let's say, PAN number or whatever, IT department finds 5 other transactions that are validated by bank or miners or whoever that you have not declared. They'll send you a notice. Or if you are underpaid on a transaction, they'll send you a notice for interest. This is your interest. So that's how it can actually help. Now in this case, IT department knows for sure that this is a valid transaction. You can go and dispute with the bank and then whole lot of stuff will happen. Bank will inform later on, 2 years later to ITO. In 2015, I am sorry, this was incorrectly input. So person XYZ actually has only done transaction of this amount and not. In which case your version of the truth is finally accepted by IT department. And bank's version of the truth, which was earlier accepted as by IT department, is reversed. So the whole process can be avoided if a single version of truth that you agree, the bank agrees, and IT department knows is the truth is generated by the blockchain. Did I answer your question?
You have mentioned that bitcoins are limited, 21 million. Once we reach that stage, then what will be the incentive for the miners to do that, or will that job stop there?
No, they will go on to mine other currencies. However, if people are still transacting bitcoins, they will still have to verify each transaction.
But then why will miners verify if they don't get incentives?
They will get incentives. Only thing is that it's becoming, I was going to come to that, it's becoming increasingly difficult for miners to verify Bitcoin transactions, so they are pooling resources. Because it takes so much time for each individual computer to figure out, they are now pooling resources and doing it jointly.
Okay, and it's like bitcoins have a limitation in numbers. Does other cryptocurrencies also have fixed numbers beyond which they will not?
To be honest, I don't know exact answer to each and every cryptocurrency, but some do and some don't.
So I would like to know your opinion on this. Personally, I believe bitcoins, as an industry, it is very dangerous for any economy because there is no underlying asset, and especially in case of war situation or exigencies, it can be misused by a group of people who are powerful enough.
True.
So,
that's why common people typically don't invest in things like Bitcoin. Now, to give a similar example, let's say you start buying dollars against rupees, and tomorrow US goes to war with North Korea. What will happen to dollars? Plunge. You will lose, but the same thing will happen if you start buying Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes.
One thing, and that what she mentioned, there's no underlying value, it is equally right as well. Because Bitcoin has an underlying value, has an underlying thing.
Every currency will have.
That is what. So that may not be the right.
The underlying value is a perception essentially. Bottom line. Today, dollar has value not because it looks good, because it buys you stuff in the marketplace worldwide. Tomorrow, or let's take an example. You guys might have heard about lira, the former Italian currency, or Argentinian currency, or there are a lot of other currencies that just went belly up. I mean, you had 1 billion lira notes or no, just this ridiculous number. So those currencies which have lost value. Similarly, Bitcoin can lose value also. It's nothing but a digital currency. It's a currency. It's not printed anywhere, but it's at the end of the day currency. So whatever can happen to currency can happen to Bitcoin.
and it has to be done by consensus, more than 50%. Is there any restriction on these currencies on the number of validators? Let's suppose Bitcoin, if it is worldwide, it may be having validators say 1 million, 2 million. To make a consensus of the transaction, you need more than 50%.
Right.
I don't know whether how fast is it possible for 500,000 to validate a transaction to go through.
Right, so 500,000 people, here example, are validating at the same time on different computers. So it will take a similar amount of time, maybe few fraction of a second or second. However, because there are so many transactions, it's become increasingly difficult. More and more people are joining hands to validate together rather than validating individually. So the absolute number of validators is actually reducing for in case of Bitcoin.
But there is no limit on number of validators.
Theoretically, no, but practically there will always be limits.
If there are too many validators, then the rewards also would come down significantly.
Yes.
So why would any validator like opt to validate something?
So I started, not personally, I as a validator started validating long time back. I was making good money.
Yeah.
Now I'm making less and less money as there are more and more validators. So slowly I get out of the business.
Also that
It's
amount
natural.
also has been reducing.
Yes.
Earlier it was $12, now it is 6.5.
Earlier it was 12.5 bitcoins, yeah. Now it's reducing. Yes, the amount is reducing. So that's why it's also not a big motivating factor for people to become validators. However, the same thing may not be true of other cryptocurrencies.
So how do one become a validator?
I would recommend to search for that answer on Google.
Okay. And reach out to you in case.
You can always reach out to me for anything and I'll help on this. My contact details are there by both phone number and email address in this deck. And I believe you will have access to the PDF version because it's uploaded in your website. So yeah, you will be able to contact me.
Sir, by blockchain management, the intention is to contemplate that all players, whether it is banks, governmental agencies, or any data receiving or sending institution, all should be integrated into a single system. Is that the intention?
It may not be a single system. The way it is today, you have to trust RBI. I read an article, how far it is true, I don't know, so please don't put me that anywhere, because it is recorded also. That the last few years ago, before the current government took over, there was a case of RBI printing 2,000 rupee notes with the same serial number. I don't know how far that is true, so please don't hold me that okay, Narendra Nesarikar. But this is, if that is the case, then such systems will prevent that from happening. Because when you are actually generating such records, they are validated. Immediately they say, okay, this number has already been taken, we cannot use this number, that becomes invalid. So, independent checks and balances will get into the financial system, which is the need of the hour, I would say, especially if you see the NPAs and people running away to England and all that, not name names, for defaulting on those, so such can be, well, proactively stop rather than reactively. Now, CBI has to go after, Sushma Swaraj has to go and talk to UK, etc. Instead of that, you can't even do a loan if you are defaulter advance, let's say. That's it. You won't get another loan until you have rectified that or until the prescribed legal time limit is over.
Can we use the blockchain for identifying the note's currency, whether it is valid currency or not?
So the currency itself is valid or not, I don't know if you won't want to use blockchain.
Duplicate notes are coming.
Yeah, you mean printed currency or electronic?
No, normal.
Electronic currency? No, duplicate will not. It's unique. It's system generated automatically, so it will never be.
Talk about the rupees.
Rupees? Yes, it can be used, like I said. If whatever RBI is spending, somebody was verifying whether the same serial number was used or not. See, RBI will always print, or whatever RBI prints is, the note will always be true or genuine. The only problem would be if the serial number is reduced, then only it becomes fake. So if somebody is verifying that.
Sir, I saw one WhatsApp message going on. Dubai government is implementing blockchain technology, and because of that there will not be need for lawyers, chartered accountants and stuff like that. What is that?
Very good question. Believe me, the society will cease to function as a society if there are no chartered accountants. That's my fundamental belief. The reason I am saying that is because even if you are automating auditing, you will still need chartered accountants to ensure that the rules you are putting in blockchain are proper rules. They are conforming to accounting standards, legal standards, whatever other standards they are. As for the lawyers, that's another story. I hope nobody is a lawyer here, but yeah, honestly, the less lawyers we have in this world, the better. Sorry, probably not a good opinion to create public.
Is the number of validators we can fix ourselves or as per rule or how exactly it works?
Each blockchain can actually decide number of validators if they want to.
And each individual, a particular person or a particular system node can be identified.
Yeah. The validators also have to register themselves as validators.
All CS can become validators if the profession goes down, we can all become validators.
Actually, you will probably become validators of the accounting rules that are implemented in the blockchain. Although you may not actually sit and see, I don't know what auditing, how you do it auditing. I'm just thinking, you see, okay, this transaction, whether it's happened really or not, इसका receipt किधर है, कौन से बैंक से है, etc. That you may not have to do, but you will still have to make sure that whatever auditing rules are being implemented are correct, and that is probably one of the most, or will be one of the most difficult jobs, because it will be still be subject to individual interpretation.
Grant quarters in US, grant quarters in US are doing this for auditing.
In fact, it helps the profession because the transactions are all automatically validated, and we just compile the end result, like we check the financials and things like that.
Does it need a separate software to be purchased or what?
Yeah.
Who is providing it?
There are a lot of vendors. If you search on Google, you'll find a lot of vendors.
Sir,
and actually, there are a couple of case studies. One of them I am working with. Also, they also provide functions. I'll come to that.
Sir, I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
What is the difference between outsourcing to a BPO and blockchain? What is the difference between blockchain management and outsourcing to a BPO? Validation, etc. That is one question. Second is, will it not increase the transaction cost per transaction? And third is, how efficient, because every transaction needs a technically knowledgeable person. How efficient the validators will be, because that is the fourth point is how it is a competitive era. Why my competitors must know what I am doing.
Okay, so I will hopefully remember all the 4, but you can keep reminding me. The difference between blockchain and BPO is that BPO is a single validator. Blockchain can have multiple validators. Now, if you have the same BPO, or rather, if you have the same data being validated by 2 different BPOs, you are effectively implementing blockchain. If you have 2 or more BPOs are validating the same thing, but it will increase your transaction cost. However, the way blockchain is implemented, because cost is also distributed, it will reduce the cost. What was your second question?
Very skilled jobs is needed.
So
ensure validators have the.
I will come to the point. Well, I think Amita touched upon it. What is blockchain mining? If it is not, then I will come to it. It's actually a computational review process done automatically. It's not done by human beings. So all you need is a computer. All you need is a software, and you actually have to register as a validator, and you will become.
Who is the registering authority for this validator?
So the blockchain, actually that's a good question, because blockchain currently has no single registering authority anywhere in the world. So that's a problem too. But there are individual blockchain individual blockchain being managed by companies. Let's say Ripple. You talk to Ripple and become a validator, then that's you'll be validating that block, become a validator.
So I'll become a franchisee of Ripple?
No. Not a franchise, it's a validator is slightly different. You are not selling their products. Franchise will typically sell your product. You are not selling anything. You are just verifying whatever they are doing is right.
Sir, between the seller and buyer, if there is a long-standing relationship, they mutually trust. They may say that I don't want another guy called a blockchain reviewer or validator. We trust each other on the transaction, therefore any credit or debit, etc., will be based on the other person's. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
In an international situation, like at the time of Dubai, they are a multi-product chain. So suppose they buy cars from say Mitsubishi. The moment Mitsubishi says that we have dispatched some 100 cars, I think it will update the goods received note system in Alpha 10 as 100 cars received. So maybe after a week or 10 days when the actual consignment is received, suppose they receive only 89 cars, they will say we have received only 89 and they will issue a debit note for 11, which Mitsubishi will accept. This is what I have understood from them.
Yeah.
So you can always prove based on the bill of entry at the Dubai port, at the port of landing. So there is no question of one trying to cheat or trying to be smart over other. So in that context, when our long-time standing relationship is sustaining and we trust each other, I don't want a third guy. Suppose they say this particular industry or the requirement may get reduced or there may not be much takers, no sir?
Yeah. In such cases you don't need blockchain, but you won't be able to scale up your business fast enough if you are simply going by manual trust. If you implement blockchain, you don't have trust. You can simply start doing business with anybody. So that's the fundamental advantage of blockchain. You don't have to rely on trust. Anyway, I think in the interest of time we'll get going. We just left with 20 minutes. We'll finish the slides and then go on to other questions. Each transaction in a Bitcoin has to be spent in whole. What it means is if somebody, like let's say Vijay has a person named Vijay has 2 Bitcoins and wants to give 1.5 Bitcoins to another person named Abhay. Now the way it works is the wallet will take 2 Bitcoins from Vijay and create another transaction and give 0.5 Bitcoin credit, and it will transfer 1.5 Bitcoins to Abhay. The way our banks work is slightly different. There is a difference in the way transactions are handled. That's what I mean by Bitcoin will be used in whole. It's not in part. So I think I've covered everything on this slide. Okay, so some of the other cryptocurrencies that we are talking about are Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, Dash, Monero, Base, Bitcoin. If you go to Google, they'll tell you the ranks year-wise. Now, the Mayor Safe coin was doing very well last year in early 2017, first quarter. It was in top 10 or top 20, then it fell below 30. So it all depends. Like all currencies going up and down, Bitcoin also keeps going up and down. Or for that matter, any cryptocurrency, also known as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, will go up and down. So here, earlier I was mentioning some big names that are using blockchain, US Federal Reserve, Nasdaq, Deutsche Bank. There's quite a few names in there that are started using blockchain actually, sorry, not Bitcoin. So these are some of the examples. Our local example, RBI, SBI, Andhra Pradesh government. So these are some of the big names. And also, now blockchain is being used in other industries as well, like medical records, app development, messaging, quite a few others. So it all depends upon how you see it and how you implement it.
So what's the difference of this smart contracts you are discussing with reference to SBI?
Sorry?
Smart contract.
Smart contract, yeah. So smart contract is nothing but a contract that has like any other smart term is smart. What do I mean by it? It's not, a contract can vary between 2 people and can be different between 2 other people. Now, the nature of the contract, if it is different, if the blockchain is taking care of it, that makes it kind of a smart contract. Rather than it's the same contract going between 2-3 different people. These are different. So if the blockchain can take care of it, then that makes it a smart contract. So Moody's, you guys would have heard about Moody's. They estimate that currently some 120 different projects are going on in blockchain worldwide. So it's picking up. And some industries where it's going on is media, real estate, healthcare, apart from banking, capital markets, government, like RBI, etc. Coming to encryption, we discussed a few things already. So, basically an encryption key is based on number of bits being used. There are two types. One is data encryption standard and advanced encryption standard. The latest one, AES, with 256 bits, is the most difficult to hack. It's estimated that it will take years for even a supercomputer to crack that encryption. Whereas something like a data encryption standard with 56 bit has been cracked by computers in less than 3 days. So this is what I was talking earlier about using the right kind of encryption. So typically in any encryption, public and private key will be used. The public key is also known as asymmetric key, and private key is also known as symmetric key. These are the terminologies being used here. High-division encryption. Now, to make things easier, Massachusetts Institute of Technology has developed some certificates for blockchain. Normally when you use software and suddenly you start getting a certificate expired, you actually have to go to some company that is authorized to issue certificates and then you renew your certificates. Similar certificates for blockchain have been developed by MIT, so they can be used as additional level of security. Like we were discussing hash functions, essentially, like I explained, hash functions are all hash values are of the same size. No matter what input plain text you give, the output is always of the same size. That's what makes it very difficult to reverse or parse. Now, in my example earlier, my name is Narendra with capital N and my name is Narendra with small n. Both are of the same length, although different hash values. You can't make out what it is, so it's very difficult. This helps actually in protecting data and also validating, because person receiving this hash value actually doesn't have to reverse it. All you have to do is follow the same hash functions and same hash rule to compute the same value, and then compare the values. If the values are same, then yeah, it's the valid hash value. So that's why it is used in many cases like DNA analysis, digital signatures, and identify duplicate records in the database, etc. So there are a lot of ways hash functions are currently being used, and also of course blockchain has identified it. So we'll now do SWOT analysis of blockchain. I'm hoping you guys know what SWOT analysis is, so I'll quickly touch base upon it. It's nothing but a structured planning method of analyzing an organization or a company, product, service, person, whatever. Strengths give you advantages over others, weaknesses essentially are disadvantages relative to others. Opportunities give elements, in the environment that you can exploit and convert them into advantages, and threats could mean trouble, essentially. So we'll now do SWOT analysis of blockchain. So blockchain is obviously very innovative and it's collaborative. And for some, these days, it can be a revolutionary technology. People are saying this is the next internet, meaning this is how the world will go forward. That's why the estimate of 10 trillion USD in 15 years. That's what internet will have done in the last 15 years, also increase the value. So similarly, blockchain can do it. Apart from removing the need for a centralized authority, by using consensus, blockchain actually helps keep data secure and maintains the integrity of data. And the validation happens before data is updated. Today, in most systems, validation happens after it is updated. And in this day and age where there is a fast transfer of data, validation doesn't happen in time. It could mean trouble. But here, the validation happens before. It doesn't even get updated. So that way, it makes it very safe. So there are a few disadvantages, weaknesses in blockchain technology. It has been hacked before, which has prevented some early adopters to adopt this. There's also not so well understanding of blockchain technology worldwide. I know Bitcoin is very famous, but a lot of people confuse Bitcoin to be blockchain. No, Bitcoin is just a use case of blockchain. The underlying blockchain is different. Actually, it was first conceptualized in 1992, but its use became very famous after the famous Lehman Brothers collapse. You guys might have heard about it. Then Mr. Nakamoto or whoever that group is actually came up with the concept of using that for data. Today there is a lack of effective regulatory environment, not only internationally or even within nations as well, which is preventing blockchain to be adopted worldwide. See, internet is today fairly well regulated. What do I mean by that is that if government doesn't want you to see certain sites, it can simply block it. Blockchain today there is no such regulation. Once that happens, once nations agree on a framework of regulation implemented, then blockchain will not have that kind of problem. There are quite a few opportunities also in blockchain. So we are saying it can be used in different cases as land records and banks, etc. Now what it really needs today is thought leaders, early adopters, change agents and pioneers. What do I mean by that? Essentially you guys, me, whoever. If you can understand blockchain technology well and propagate that, explain that within your organizations and be a change agent for adoption, blockchain will be able to pursue. And like I said, it's the way of doing business will change. You don't necessarily have to know which person is selling you goods. Person is on the blockchain, you know it will be validated, you can blindly buy goods. Today you might be blindly buying goods on Amazon and because it is well known, etc. etc. But some other smaller ones you might be thinking, should I buy it from here or not? That kind of thinking you don't have to have. If that entire blockchain network is implemented within different trading systems. There are quite a few threats also to this technology. There is a hesitancy among consumers and investors to adopt. There are quite a few people saying, why should I involve a third party? Right? When I am trusting this. You want to involve third party so that your scale of business is achieved faster. You don't have to worry about when to meet somebody, oh, this guy looks good, so I can trust him, this guy doesn't look so good, maybe he's not so trustworthy. I mean, I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. You don't have to spend time to establish mutual trust. Now, one of the main impact of blockchain is it will probably force most companies to reduce fees, because it actually, the way it works is it actually removes opportunities from banks and brokers to be charging fees. The miners and validators, they are rewarded for doing just validations. So their rewards will be fixed and small compared to what banks charge. And those of you who deal with banks, especially foreign currencies, know what they can charge. Nations need to really recognize that blockchain requires a really robust legislation and legal landscape that is missing pretty much everywhere, including the United States, I think. So if they start implementing that, it will help a lot. It will help this technology. Now again, this concept came up earlier, collaborative nature. If I am trusting the other, why do I need to bring in a third person? Now if you bring in a third person, you don't have to worry about trusting the other, which means it is more collaborative in nature, the entire technology. This might scare some people off, or especially some companies. So that kind of mindset needs to change. The way, if you really understand blockchain technology well, you will know that those who are on the same blockchain network don't have to trust each other to do business. Blockchain will take care of that trust. Simply by being on it and register on it, automatically will make it trustworthy. So the time you have to spend to figure out, whether to trust this person to do business or not, is drastically reduced. Blockchain does advance quite a few pain points. Now there have been cases where the centralized authority, let's say a bank, might go bankrupt, so they might refuse to return your money. We are going bankrupt, we don't have anything. Okay. Or some other malicious intent. There are cases where they may fail to recognize your transaction. Or there might be cases where the data has been tampered. Data lost because of malware, human error, ransomware. These days you hear all kinds of stories. All those things can be avoided by implementing blockchain. One thing that you can also bring down is the really high fees that middlemen charges banks and brokers using blockchain. That is the big impact to this financial industry, especially BFS industries. Also somewhat of a detrimental factor as to why we should implement blockchain. Banks want to take their own time to understand their revenue streams are not really disturbed before they implement blockchain. But actual blockchain advantages far outweigh the disadvantages for any institution. The cost of maintaining a centralized data, even if it's distributed, replicated, copy, all that is reduced drastically. There are some basic steps you need to follow to implement blockchain. If you follow those steps, implementation becomes much easier. The first thing you have to do is identify a use case. So, let us say you are a bank and we like earlier talked about the ICICI HDFC scenario. So if these two banks see each other as competitors, then whatever database they have to update commonly, that can be on the blockchain and they need not worry about updating it because it's already trusted source. So such things are a typically good use case. Now it's also up to your imagination how you can use blockchain in different technologies or different organizations. So a lot of change agents are required at this time. Our recommendation or my specific recommendation is simple. If you want to implement blockchain, you engage a vendor like us. Right from identifying a use case to doing a POC, a proof of concept, to doing a field trials and full production. And there are vendors who can even offer post-production support for the entire blockchain network. All these things can be done by a vendor very easily. If you were to try and learn all these things yourself and do it, it will take some time. And these days, time is money. So the sooner you will trust this to somebody, the faster you can implement it. But there are certain other things you can do as part of POC also. You use cloud computing so that you can go up and down on your resource usage as you need. You probably should do what you use permissible blockchain to control who writes to it. You can open it up later to make it public blockchain. To mitigate, you want to keep it private and permissible. And it's best to decide a budget and define an architecture upfront of a blockchain, because changing data would mean a lot of hassle in changes and implementing those, making sure they work and etc. So these are some of the basic implementation steps of blockchain. But I will recommend that you engage a vendor as soon as possible if you want to implement blockchain. There are a couple of companies I have been working with who have developed a blockchain. One is actually using a solution for fintech industry, specifically a peer-to-peer scenario. In this case, a permissible blockchain is created and access to it is given to, actually it's a relevant parties only which is limited, and maybe to RBI if RBI demands it. But such permissible blockchains can help, and this fintech solution actually tracks borrowers and lenders through blockchain, and also identity management is done through blockchain. This is the answer actually. I'll come to that next. So this is what, this is a solution, and for reasons of confidentiality I am not raising the name of the company, but this company has developed a solution for fintech industry peer-to-peer, and it can be on cloud, it can be on private cloud network also. And if you use this solution, you will facilitate typically what most fintech companies do, especially in the peer-to-peer environment. So this is an example. If you need more details, you can drop me an email, I will get you more details.
Okay, just more out of knowledge perspective, what are the other options available? I want to know some product name, similar to, for example, hyperledger Fabric is one, which can work on, let's say, Azure cloud or anything. Similar to that, see, you must have chosen something or have you built something there are two options. If you close with something, let's list out a few product names.
Yeah, so IBM has its own cloud and blockchain network. Then Ripple has its own blockchain. There are quite a few others. If you search on Google, you will find quite a few. Now it depends on your use case.
Correct. It depends on the use case, but what are the things that I need to look for? See, one is the underlying code. See, for example, I need to use Go programming or something. So as one more for development perspective. That is purely from a technical standpoint on coding. See, Go or Java or something. But what are the other things that I need to look at? See, for me, I need to get a POC done. A use case I can identify which will give the business logic. Again, the smart contract or something else can tell me what is it which is required, which will push in the logic and then convert it to make it understandable more from a man to man or man to machine or whatever. My thing is, I want to know if I need to look at, let's say, 5 different products in blockchain. If I need to do an evaluation, what would you suggest, at least based on the experience that you carry, because you've been in this for quite some time, what should my starting point be, apart from the business case, which will be the use case? Now, what next do I do and what do I need to look out for evaluation?
So I can spend an entire night on that answer, but to quickly give you an answer.
I don't have a problem, I'm willing to say.
Well, I do, but to quickly give you an answer, like I said, it would be best if you, when you identify a use case, find out what area it is. Let's say if it's fintech or whether it's IoT or whatever.
Okay.
Once you have done, you actually search for who the best current blockchain providers in that are, or whether you want to build from scratch. If you find an existing blockchain provider who actually, whose solution suits your need, then you might want to go with them. And that's why we always recommend going with the vendor first. But they can tell you this. Yeah, that would be best. So this fintech is similar to what we saw earlier. And in interest of time, I will not spend too much time on it. But again, A wants to send money to B. A transaction is created, a block is created online, it's validated, gets returned to chain, and B receives the money. It's the same case there. So this is a typical blockchain case that happens. The other one is Internet of Things, which you might avoid. Internet of Things is essentially nothing but a bunch of devices, appliances, everything on network connected by internet, talking to each other. So, and typically most of these devices are remotely controlled, and which brings in efficiency because it reduces human errors. So, IoT-based blockchain solution is the other thing that I've been working on. I'll quickly go over that. So here, if you see the blockchain node and IoT node can correspond. So each IoT node itself can act as a blockchain node. So your computer is one of the devices, your mobile phone is another device. Both of these actually can act as nodes themselves. So that's the beauty of this one. If you really need something that can be connecting your home microwave or fridge to your computer, etc., then you will go with something like this. This kind of describes what it does. So two devices actually talk to each other during creation of contract or even afterwards, etc. So it kind of describes. So I really wanted to come to this slide before we finish. So most vendors, especially like us, can do a lot of things for you, but it all depends on what problems you want to get solved by blockchain. And I'm almost done here, give me just 2 minutes. Auditing, like I said, is a very good use case. Helping accurately calculating tax, that's another use case. Sharing financial data between banks, that's another typical use case. Reducing cost of maintaining data, streamlining processes. We went through a lot of this earlier already, so I will not waste too much time. And risk mitigation is one. You can actually simply implement blockchain to reduce the risk of data loss or hacking, etc. So that completes my session for today. So thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you joining. And feel free to contact me anytime with questions. And I love the active participation, so really appreciate all the questions as well. Thank you very much.
Narendra been a wonderful session, and more than 450 people are seeing this program live.
Oh wow!
And almost 200 people are seeing personally present here. Isn't it? This is a wonderful eye-opener for us, no? Yes. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation and coming here and presenting this session for us. And I request Govind Bhatt and the past managing committee member to come forward and present a memento to Sri Narendra as a token of our appreciation. Sir, we would like to hear you in due course again. This is a 2-hour session, is just like a panchamrita, not sufficient for the full stomach. So we need a full-fledged meals. That's why we would like to have one full-day session on this blockchain management, so that we will be able to get more into it, and we will look forward for this kind of an opportunity. Thank you very much, sir. Friends, I would like to thank each one of you for your active participation despite your busy schedules. All your presence here is the motivating factor for us to conduct more and more programs. Thank you very much, sir.